Hello and welcome to this lecture. In this lecture on presentation technique, we'll be covering physical jury presentation for undergraduate jury presentation. The title of the course is Architectural Presentation Techniques. Do well to like, share, and subscribe. At the end of this video, I will leave you with tips and tricks of things not to do to ensure that your presentation works very well. Catch you in class, please. Today we'll be looking at physical presentation under presentation techniques in architecture. So when we talk about physical presentation, here I'm just meaning the ability to present your work physically. And this is a skill that is very crucial to architects and their success in the practice of architecture. You can know how to draw, but if you can't present your work physically, nobody will give you money, nobody will give you the opportunity to build your house. So right from your first year or second year in architecture through to your master's degree, you would be presenting. So this gives the architecture students a very important skill in presenting their works. Now, in making physical presentation, there are some techniques we would explore that also involves the presentation of anything, even architectural or not. Just like this presentation I'm making, prior to starting any presentation, you have to prepare. Most architecture students forget this later. So we focus on sketching, making drawings, and then we don't prepare. So we have to practice, and that's why in most school of architecture, there is always a preliminary presentation before the final presentation. Now, I'm just going to give you tips on how to go about making a physical presentation. After that, we are going to do some exercise where people practice the physical presentation. So the first thing you prepare, and in planning any presentation, you should break it into sections. The same thing with architectural presentation. So for this presentation, I'm just going to break it down into 4 parts for any architectural jury. It can be more, but I'm addressing mostly now second year students and third year students and even final year students. So if you are going to make your presentation, you start with an introduction, and then we'll move over to the research phase of your presentation, and then we'll move over to your design solution, and we can conclude with maybe a summary, and then you'll take questions in your introduction. So this is a little bit of a breakdown of the 4 steps of 5 steps. So I have 4, it could be more than that, because we have sub steps into each one. So let's look at each of these steps and see how we can explore them. Let's start with the introduction. Introduction, in this case, let's start before the introduction. Let's call this the pre-introductory stage. So the first thing you want to do on your presentation day is to arrange your sheets properly. So when pasting your sheets, avoid this kind of, avoid pasting your sheet horizontally. So 1, 2, 3. No, this is not good. Now, why is this not good? Because if you paste your sheet horizontally, what it does is that you have to be moving across left to right every time. So I'll give an example. This is my first sheet, I'll present it. This is my second sheet, I'll present it. This is my third sheet, I'll present it. I have to walk back here and start this way. So the best way to arrange your sheet will be vertically, which will be this way. So you have 1, 2, 3, and then this will be 4, and then 5 here, and 6 here. So in this case, if I'm presenting this way, it's better. The reason is simple. When I present vertically, I attend to this sheet, this sheet, this sheet, then I move forward a little bit, and then I continue this way. And when I get towards the middle, I can turn this way, and then keep this way. So I don't move too much. I don't move too much out of the presentation sphere. The only turn I'm making is maybe towards the middle of my sheet, where I flip from presenting this way to presenting this other way. So in working your sheet, this arrangement is important. Then the next thing we want to look at after setting up your presentation is how you stay to present. So I'll give you a quick example. I have this set square. We'll take it as a pointer. The pointer is very important while making your jury presentation. Many times students don't even prepare for a pointer. So what happens is that Some people will roll up papers. Some people will come with like small cane. Some people would have different items to make presentation. If we have a good pointer, then it makes a lot of things easier for us. So I'm just giving an example, but if you have better ones, fine. So the first thing you want to have is a good pointer. The second thing is your position while presenting. Many students present this way. They start with good afternoon, my jurors, and the rest, and then they turn their back, and then they start reading their work.
We don't do that here.
Now, when you present this way and you are backing the jurors, it's very difficult for you to know if anybody is even listening to you and if you are making eye contact. So you always want to present in a way where you can easily glance at your work and glance at the jurors. So that's why, when I was demonstrating initially, I was always standing this way. So this is a very good way to stand because first of all, you are seeing the people you are talking to. You are making one or two eye contact or looking at them. And secondly, you're also seeing your work. So there is a kind of, you have a control over the whole space. People are listening to you because you're talking to them and you also have your work and you already know your work. So you don't need to be checking all the details in your work. You only glance at your work and when you want to speak, you'll speak facing the jurors. So that's some basic pre-introduction into the jury. Now you start your jury presentation with an introduction. An introduction covers you, first of all, it covers greetings, and then it covers an introduction of the project. So when you are greeting, if you are making a presentation, you should have an idea of who your jurors are. So if you are greeting, if there is a prof, you can say, good morning, prof, and good morning, my lecturers, or good morning, lecturers. So if there are people that have special titles, especially professors, you can recognize them in the greeting. And that is also a good communication method because those people are the people that have control over the jury. So recognizing them is not bad. So after the greetings, you go ahead to introduce yourself and the project. You can say, my name is so and so, and I'm presenting a project on the design of so and so. So something you might want to avoid is always using the term, I was asked to design, all those kind of terms as if somebody forced you or forced the design on you. So if you introduce yourself, you can go ahead to just say, I'm presenting this design on so and so, and then you name the project. And then after that, you now go into your research. Now, you don't need to read out all the details within the brief. You can elaborate on the brief within the introduction. So after you said, I'm presenting a design of so and so, it contains this, and it's located at so and so place. So you just give a brief overview, and then you move into your research. Now, most times for your research, especially in 200 level and 300 level students, your research needs to focus on architectural spaces within the building design. So you can't just start your research and then you are defining are talking about things that are outside of the building design. Don't focus so much on history and all those things. You should focus so much on how spaces function, how they are generated within the design. So let me give you an example. Let's say I'm designing a 4-bedroom bungalow, like the second year design for this semester. My research should focus on living room spaces and let's say standard sizes of living room spaces and their layout. So if I have a living room space, for example, I have to say, okay, my research is focused on the TV wall, the seats around the living room space, how many seats, how many people will this particular living room space sit, and the relationship between the living room space. Maybe here is the dining, and here's the lobby into the house. So my research is going to focus on this, and it's also going to focus on standards. Let's say this is a 5-meter by 5-meter space for living room. So for at maybe, let's say 8 persons. So my research should focus on standards and acceptable averages. So when presenting your design, you should focus on spaces, your research, sorry. You focus on spaces, how those spaces have been worked out, and then the details around those spaces. So for a hospital, you should also work around those spaces. It should always contain sizes. Your research should always contain sizes, square areas, information about the fittings and the activity going on within that space. And then under your research also, research is very key, very much in presentation. After your research, you go over to your case studies. So your case studies is supposed to take the analysis of spaces you have made here, and then you take it to your case study and see its application in real life. So case study is supposed to focus on application of research in real life. So in choosing your case studies, you must choose case studies that are professionally designed and something that you can pick one or two things from and apply it in real life. And so when presenting your case study, it always has to refer back to, this is the things I learned from my research, and it took me to these case studies, and this is how it is being applied in real life situations. And it is from these two areas that you encompass and summarize your research. So when you finish your literature review that has to do with all these things I'm talking about, research also includes literature review. That has to do with understanding the spaces, the sizes, and then application in real life. Then you now go into your design solution. And so your design solution, in this case, starts with, I'm a little bit torn apart if this is part of the research phase, but it could be. We have space area calculations or derivations, and you have space relationships, metrics. So a little bit, this is actually part of the design solution if you think about it, because at this point you are now taking the information you got from your research to merge it into your design solution. So from the time you start analyzing, okay, these are the spaces I'm going to use in my design, and this is how I'm going to make it function, you are already within the space of the design solution. At this point in time, you are beginning to sound much more confident based on the fact that you have information to support what you are just presenting. And then we can now say, fine, from your space area calculation and space relationship diagram, you can now move to your bubble diagram. So space relationship diagram and bubble diagram is almost, is birds of the same feather, I would say. We can look at that in detail, how to generate this shit in other lectures. And from your bubble diagram, you move to your zoning. Now, zoning is a key aspect of design concept development. Many students miss their design concept sheets because they name it zoning. So when you start zoning, you're already developing the design concept, because what you do with the zoning is that you are beginning to say, these three items will be focused on one side, this other four items will be focused on one side, this is how this space is going to relate to that. That is basically design solution. So it is from your zoning that you can now go ahead, if you have not written design concept already on zoning, you can go ahead to do a design concept sheet. But that is already design concept. So zoning plus maybe form, style will give you what your design concept is. So because in zoning, you are solving the circulation problem. In the form or the style of the architecture, you are solving the aesthetic problem. And with that, you already have an idea of how the solution of the design will be. It's from here that you can now go ahead to start presenting your site plan, floor plan, and elevation and section. Now, in presenting your site plan and floor plans, something must be said about that. You don't just jump into your site plan or floor plan and start saying, this is the entrance, this is the ante room, from there you move to the living room. No. When you want to present your site or floor plan, start with the zoning, the way your concept was generated, so that you can appreciate the process in the solution. So let me give you an example. In your site plan, once you get into your site plan, say, okay, this area here is for the public, this zone here is for the family, and this area in between is where both the public and the family meet, and this is how I've barricaded or zoned this area. When you get to your floor plan, the same steps continue to. You can say, okay, this area here is the public zone, this area here is the intermediate zone, and this area here is mostly where the family zone is. So when presenting your floor plans or site plans, don't just jump into, from the living room, you go here. No. When you finish the zoning, and then there is time, then you can now zone movement within each zone in detail. So you can now start, okay, from the entrance, you link up here. This is the intermediate zone that links here to here, and then you can show the bedroom. And then it always helps to do a detailed furniture plan. So if you have a furniture plan, while showing your floor plans. It shows how those spaces function and how those sizes can be defended. In your section, you basically present construction methods. So when looking at sections, you are looking at, okay, this is the possible construction methods that could be used to create this building. And when you present your elevation and sections and your 3Ds, that is summary. So summary is basically elevation and 3D renderings or 3D diagrams, and all you are trying to say is, this is what I've designed, this is how it looks, this is how beautiful it looks, and you round up there with a good closure. And after that, you begin to listen to questions, take them in good faith, reply to the ones you can, and take corrections. So this is how to go about presenting architectural jury. It's not always that simple. It requires practice. So there are some things I want to advise. Some things not to do during your jury. Number one is avoid repetitive words. What do I mean by that? Don't make your jury presentation all about, this is my floor plan, this is my site plan, this is the elevation, this is research. Once you see yourself saying this is, each this is will give you a minus mark. So avoid it. When you want to go into another sheet, let it be a continuous statement. From here, you go to this one, and then, so avoid just a this is sheet. And how do you avoid that? You practice. When you practice, you know the specific points you want to pick up from the jury. The next one is avoid crisscrossing when presenting. When you are done with your presentation, you can stay one place, listen to questions. When the asked question and a sheet is pointed, you should know where your sheets are so that you can easily point to those ones and have conversation. I've seen students, while the question and answer series is going on, they are always running up and down because they are confused. And so to avoid that, always put all your drawings on one section. So after your jury, you can stay close to your site plan, floor plans, because that's where most of the questions will come in. And then avoid long pauses during your presentation. So you can take a break, pause while presenting, but don't just stand there looking at your sheet for 30 seconds thinking of what to say. That happens most times because people don't practice. So to round up, a brief summary of what we've looked at today. In making a presentation, you should be articulate, you should practice for the day, you should present it in a planned fashion, have your introduction, focus on your research, use your research to derive your design solution, and then conclude and listen to corrections in a very organized and timely manner. I'll be expecting any questions in the comment section. If you enjoyed the video, like, share, subscribe, and we'll continue in the next class. Thanks. Peace. Ciao.